flash it. Last minute, I'll flash.
And then red means you need to stop. Are you ready, Mr. Call?
I'm ready.
First question pertains to charters. The El Paso ISD Board of Trustees has taken a public anti-charter position. What is your position on charters, and what will you do to protect EPISD's community schools?
Well, first off, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's encouraging to see so many people that care about the school board. As was mentioned earlier, the turnout in these types of elections are extremely low. And whether your jersey is red or blue or something else, it's encouraging to see so many people that care about the direction of the school board. Okay, so to the question on the table about charters. Charters is a broad category, and from what I've learned recently is that charters actually began as an experiment to test policy by AFT National. So, in terms of, if we're going to talk specifically, if we're talking about KIP or IDEA, I'm not impressed with what I've seen from them. So, as far as protecting EPISD from encroachment from charters, I'm in favor of that. I don't know that all competition is negative. I think in some respects, competition makes EPISD better. So, do I like to see the tax dollars walking out the door to charter schools? No. But do I think that we can do a better job of beating the competition at their own game? Absolutely. I think we have the best kids. I think we have the best employees. I think we have the best teachers, and I think we can win that fight.
Thank you. Question number 2 pertains to Districts of Innovation. The Texas Education Agency's designation of District of Innovation allows the El Paso ISD to establish student-teacher ratios which are larger than the state's recommendations and requirements. It allows employees in the classroom to be non-certified. It allows the district to pay teachers less than the state pay scale. And it eliminates many oversight allowances which eliminate transparency with the use of taxpayer dollars to include purchasing. If you are elected to serve on the El Paso ISD Board of Trustees, will you support the renewal of EPISD's District of Innovation designation? Why or why not?
Good question. Thank you very much. From what I understand, no, I would not be in favor of that. I need more research. I'm kind of a data person. I like to see large amounts of data whenever making a decision. But if it comes down to less oversight, less accountability, I don't think that's a wise move. So a little bit, since I have time, a little bit more about me. I moved to El Paso in 2010. I was born in a small town in northern Mexico, and I came to El Paso in 2010 to continue my education, and I completed a graduate degree at UTEP. One of the first things I noticed about El Paso was on the nightly news watching the superintendent and some of the board members being sentenced to jail terms. So I thought to myself, what in the world is going on here? If you speak to a lot of folks from back in those days, there was a lack of oversight, there was a lack of accountability, and I'll do everything in my power never to return to those days. And I think that there's a lack of trust sometimes in EPISD, and that's one of the things that I want to increase.
Thank you. Question number 3 pertains to governance.
Okay.
One of the most important responsibilities of a school board trustee is selecting an effective superintendent and evaluating her or his process and progress. If elected to serve on the El Paso ISD Board of Trustees, what is one of the largest student outcome gaps and which student outcome goal would you recommend the board adopt for the purposes of ensuring improved student outcomes and superintendent monitoring?
Okay, that's a bit of a loaded question. Can you repeat the second half of the question?
If elected to serve on the El Paso ISD Board of Trustees, what is one of the largest student outcome gaps and which student outcome goal would you recommend the board adopt for the purposes of ensuring improved student outcomes and superintendent monitoring?
Okay, so I'll take the second half of that question first. One of the things that worries me about El Paso is the disparity in the feeder patterns. There's no good reason why a student that lives in a zip code that may be lower on the socioeconomic status should receive any less of an education than a student in a zip code that has a higher socioeconomic status. So what I'm getting at here is that the graduation rates and the feeder patterns, the discrepancy is too large. There shouldn't be a statistically significant gap in graduation rates in the feeder pattern. So that's one of the things that I'd really like to see decreased, because that shows that we're doing our job as a board and as EPISD, is that doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what school you go to, you're going to have an equal shake at a good, decent public education. As far as the question about the superintendent goes, the premise of the question hits the nail right on the head, that one of the most important aspects of being a member of the Board of Trustees is selecting and subsequently providing oversight and accountability to the superintendent. I think sometimes that gets lost a little bit, and I think sometimes folks rightfully get frustrated that the Board of Trustees turns into an advisory council rather than a true governing board. So with Daniel Call, what you're going to get is you're going to get a person on the Board of Trustees that believes in strong governance as far as providing oversight and accountability to the superintendent.
Thank you. The next question pertains to teacher evaluations. The El Paso ISD's T-test policy completely eliminates student scores being STAR and end-of-course exams, which are grade placement and graduation requirements in the state of Texas. As part of the teacher evaluation process, do you support the continuation of this model? Why or why not?
Let me go from a 50,000-foot perspective here. Our kids are over-tested. I have a third grader and I have a first grader at Western Hills Elementary, and it seems like every day, this is an exaggeration obviously, it seems like every day when my kids come home and I say, hey guys, how was school today? Oh, it was bad, we had another test. Really? And one thing that I hear over and over again from teachers is that we spend too much time having to prepare the students for the test, because so much rides on the outcome of those tests. It feels like they don't have any time to provide actual education to the kids in the classroom. So, as far as this specific standardized test, I don't know. That's one thing that I'm going to take a good hard look at as soon as I get on the Board of Trustees, is I want to take a look at all the testing that our kids do. And if there's a way that we can eliminate some of that, if there's a way we can cut some of that back, I'm going to be in favor of that. Now, I will say that we do need data. We do need data about how our kids are doing, because it's difficult. Learning is something that's really difficult to gauge whether it's happening or not. So there needs to be some kind of baseline where we can get some data on the kids, but in my view, it's overdone, and I'm going to look for ways to cut it back.
Thank you. The next question pertains to the transformation zone grants. The El Paso ISD's current Board of Trustees submitted a grant application to the Texas Education Agency, which awarded the district $5 million for a transformation zone, which includes 4 high schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 elementary schools. The board also decided not to partner with the charter organization, leaving $5 million on the table. The newly elected trustees may amend this grant application and apply for the additional $5 million and subsequently partner with the charter organization. If elected to serve on the El Paso ISD Board of Trustees, would you support a grant amendment for the additional $5 million? Why or why not?
Great question. And I know this is a question that a lot of people care very deeply about. In Senate Bill 1882, there's 3 possibilities that the state of Texas provides for EPISD to partner with organizations. One of which is the nonprofit organizations. Another which is institutions of higher learning. I think both of those situations potentially provide us with opportunities to do things for the kids that EPISD doesn't do or doesn't want to do. As far as partnering with a KIP or an idea, that I don't see that happening. In terms of getting $5 million, I don't think it's worth it.
Thank you, sir. Those are all of the questions. How much time does
So
he
you
have?
have about 5 minutes left if you...
If you'd like to elaborate on any other questions.
You guys want me to read from the phone book for 5 minutes?
If there's any question you'd like to elaborate on, or otherwise you have 30 seconds to close.
I'm a fan of brevity. I don't really like long meetings. I don't like long answers. So I'm a fan of brevity. So I guess if it's all right, I'm just going to go into the 30-second closing.
That's fine.
Is that fine?
Yes.
All right. So once again, I appreciate you guys having me here tonight. I'll tell you what, in District 7, no one's going to work harder for the kids. No one has more skin in the game in District 7 than I do. I wake up every morning and I go to sleep every night thinking about my kids and thinking about the rest of the kids in El Paso. And although I may not agree with everybody 100% of the time, one thing that you're going to get with Daniel Call is you're going to get somebody who's going to listen. I think God gave us two ears and one mouth for a reason. I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything right now, but you're going to get somebody that's going to listen to you, listen to your concerns, and I'm confident that bringing everybody to the table, we can make the right decisions about what's right for El Paso's kids, and subsequently what's right for those that serve the kids, as far as the teachers, as far as the librarians, the custodians, the counselors, the cafeteria folks. I just want to move the ball forward. I think we have to do better, and I think we can do better. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have 1 minute to introduce yourself, 30 seconds to close, 15 minutes to answer 6 questions.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Mickey Loweree. I am the current EPISD Board of Trustee for District 7 that involves the Coronado area. I was appointed a little over 18 months ago. I was chosen by the board. I have one fellow board member here. It was a unanimous decision by them all. It has been a great learning experience. It's one of a lot of time and dedication, and I am very blessed to be able to spend all that time and dedication with the board. I am the current chairman of the facilities with the Board of Trustees. I am a mother of 4 children. My 2 older children graduated from Coronado. I have a beautiful 13-year-old daughter that attends the Young Women's Academy. And I have a vibrant 4-year-old that will be entering school this next year.
Thank you. Question number 1 pertains to charters. The El Paso ISD Board of Trustees has publicly taken an anti-charter position. What is your position on charters, and what will you do to protect EPISD's community schools?
I think we have some great schools. Charters are unfortunately a thing of the future. We just need to make sure that we are equipping our teachers and our students, and more than anything, our parents, letting them know they have the best choice, and the best choice is our school district. I know we will not accept any charters into our district, and we are adamant and always saying that at all of our meetings, we are not going to go charter, period.
Thank you. Question number 2 pertains to District of Innovation. The Texas Education Agency's designation of District of Innovation allows El Paso ISD to establish student-teacher ratios which are larger than the state's recommendations and requirements, employ classroom personnel who are not certified teachers, pay less than the state pay scale, and eliminates many oversight allowances, which eliminates transparency with the use of taxpayer dollars to include purchasing. If you are elected to serve on the EPISD Board of Trustees, will you support the renewal of EPISD's District of Innovation designation? Why or why not?
Well, the biggest thing I think with our District of Innovation is that it's allowed us that freedom of being able to explore new ideas into our classrooms. As far as the transparency, I think we're all great in being transparent, but I want to be that conscientious trustee that with the tax dollars that we're all being given and with everything, make sure that it's the best education dollar we're spending. And that education dollar needs to be made towards our students, towards our teachers, towards the people who are helping in that classroom. That it's not certified personnel. I really would like to check on that. I'm sure that's not going to be acceptable by our own standards, and I'm sure even our own teachers don't want that. Having somebody who's not certified, I know as a parent, I don't want somebody who's not certified anywhere near my child teaching them. The other designation as far as that it's giving us the teacher ratio, we try and minimize it as much as we can to make sure that it's a decent ratio for our teachers and it's a decent ratio even for our students. But the biggest reason is because we like that one-on-one kind of time with our teachers and with our students. And I think with the smaller one-on-one classes that we're doing now, and the way that it's now structured, we've gone away from the teacher standing in front of the classroom dictating everything to them, that it's now more engaging with them, and everybody likes that. The true engagement is what's leading us.
Thank you. The next question pertains to governance. One of the most important responsibilities of a school board trustee is selecting an effective superintendent and evaluating her or his process and progress. If elected to serve on the EPISD Board of Trustees, which is one of the largest student outcome gaps, and which student outcome goal would you recommend the board adopt for the purposes of improving student outcomes and superintendent monitoring?
So I think the biggest one that we've adopted right now is that we have our children reading at grade level. That's the most important. We need to make sure that we have our third graders reading where they're supposed to be reading, and our ninth graders taking algebra when they're supposed to be taking algebra. That, I think, is the biggest indicator of a great government, and right now we finally have that in place. I think we were at a low place, unfortunately, a few years ago, but I think with the leadership that we have going now, I think what's the great thing is we as a board have been holding our superintendent accountable for that. And if that's not coming across to the leaders that are responsible for that, the principals, then they have to answer back to the superintendent, and he has to answer back to us, bar none. And we won't be accepting anything less. The greatest thing that I've seen is for my own child that's in 7th grade right now. She was able to test and is now taking algebra in 7th grade. So that's a big advantage for me. Granted, I have to go back a lot of times myself and look at Google the answers because I can't remember. But, and math was never my strong point. But the great part of it is she's a lot further along than we had other students a while back, and we need to make sure we hold everybody accountable, from the teacher to the principal to the area principal and everything. But we need to make sure they have those resources, and if they don't have those resources, where's that breakdown? And if it all comes down back to the leadership, then leadership will be held accountable.
The second part of that question is, what student outcome goal do you recommend the board adopt for superintendent monitoring?
I think we need to make sure that our children are college ready when they leave. I mean, we're sending our children to be ready for the world, and if they're ready for the world, then obviously we've got a great indicator of that. And if they're not, but again, not every child is ready to go out and become a professional, but they need to have a trade as well, or even in the military. But we need to make sure that we have all those procedures in place to make sure it's either a trade, it's a military, or it's college ready. And if they walk out of that high school not prepared, we have failed. And it's not even that we just failed at high school, we have failed way beyond that, and we need to start as early as even 6th grade right now.
Thank you. The next question pertains to teacher evaluations. El Paso ISD's T-test policy completely eliminates student scores from the STAR and end-of-course exams, which are grade placement and graduation requirements in the state of Texas, as part of the teacher evaluation process. Do you support the continuation of this model? Why or why not?
Unfortunately, and I think, again, I'm going to use myself, I was not a great test taker. And to sit there and evaluate a teacher, to sit there and teach to a test is completely unfair. We have great teachers, we have great experiences with them, and unfortunately we have just people who can't take a great test. But that shouldn't be an indication that you have a teacher who's not doing their job. We have teachers that go above and beyond their job. And I want to say teachers is probably the only profession that stay up at night and worry about somebody else's kid, whether they're going to pass, whether they're going to fail. And it's a very selfless job. So we need to make sure that they get all that support to do the best job they can. Again, should that be on their evaluation? No, it shouldn't. We have great teachers, period.
Thank you. The next question pertains to the Transformation Zone grants. El Paso ISD's current Board of Trustees submitted a grant application to the Texas Education Agency, awarding the district $5 million for a transformation zone which includes 4 high schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 elementary schools. The board also decided not to partner with the charter organization, leaving $5 million on the table. The newly elected trustees may amend the grant application and partner with the charter organization to accept that $5 million. If elected to serve on the El Paso ISD Board of Trustees, would you support a grant amendment for the additional $5 million?
No.
Why or why not?
No, not at all. That's a big no. We have great foundations here at our school. Do we learn at times better practices from some of the charter schools? I think one of their biggest lines is they graduate 99% of their kids from high school into college. I'd really like to see that number. But does that, I would hope that the new incoming candidates that are elected realize that to partner up with a charter school is not the way to sit there and solve our problems. We are slowly going in the right direction. We have great substances in place to do what we need to do. And the grant that we already have there is just to sit there and strengthen our own practices. We will probably take some practices from, I guess, the Allegiance, and that's part of how the grant is written. We have to partner with the charter. That's not letting them in. It's just trying to get some of their best practices. But the best part is we are still going to own anything. And as you said, we left $5 million on the table. And if elected, I will not sit there and touch that.
Thank you. As the only incumbent, there is one extra question, and it pertains to EPISD's integrity. Given El Paso ISD's issues with public confidence dating back to Dr. Garcia and as recent as allegations against former board president Trustee Hatch, please explain your political relationship with Carlos Sierra, who has a checkered past concerning campaign finance reports and a variety of legal issues.
Mr. Sierra is a political advisor and has offered to come out and help. I think, like all things, we are all new at this, and I'm pretty sad that it's tried to be a political thing, because this isn't about politics. This is about kids. It's about doing the absolute right thing. And you shouldn't have to do politics, and unfortunately it is getting ugly with politics. I'd like to sit there and remain apolitical to it and just do what needs to be done for the kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have 30 seconds to close, please.
I'd appreciate your support. I know this is a hard thing. The good thing is I am on the board right now and want to continue the work that we've already started. We have a great team with our other board members, and we need to finish and remain consistent and do what we need to do to push EPISD further. It's a great school district. Like all things, there are times when it falters, but we're all human and we all have the best intentions, and that's pushing our kids forward. We want our kids to do better than we ever did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.